Okay, now the question is, how do plants transport nutrients, organic acids, pigments from the roots or from various parts of the body to other parts? What they utilize is known as vascular tissues. They have vascular tissues that does this. Okay, the main vascular tissues that you find in plants are the xylem and the phloem. Okay, and they are arranged in a specific pattern. So where multiple vascular tissues are arranged, the whole bundle is known as vascular bundle. Okay, now the xylem and the phloem, like I said before, are the main channels, are the main tissues, vascular tissues that transport nutrients and water and minerals. Okay, so now we're going to look at what are these xylem, what's this xylem, what is this phloem. Okay, xylem normally they contain tracheids and vessels. Tracheids are spindle cells, and they form columns. All right, they form vertical columns from the root to the leaf, and they are made up of long spindle-shaped cells. And then the vessels are made up of flat cells. They are arranged atop each other. So the most noteworthy thing about this is that in the xylem, the tracheids and the vessels are usually dead cells. When they mature, they are already dead cells. While in the phloem, this phloem has sieve tubes, which are more like cylindrical cells. Okay, and then companion cells too are elongated cells that are arranged beside the sieve tubes. So at the difference is, like I said, the tracheids and the vessels are dead cells. Okay, while the sieve and the tubes are living. So note, in the phloem, the cells that make up the vascular tissue, the phloem tissue, are living, while the cells that make up the xylem are usually dead cells. Okay, so now let's go. How does this xylem work? How does it transport? How does it transport gases? How does it transport water and mineral salts? Okay, now for gases, that's a very it's a very high yield question. Okay, you can ask, does the xylem, how does it transport gases? The truth is that the gases in plants are transported not by the xylem, not by these vascular tissues. They are transported by diffusion from the leaves, from the different parts of the plant. Gases can diffuse in and out. Oxygen, carbon dioxide can diffuse in and out. Okay, and then the gases too are just can also leave from different openings within the leaf. Okay, like the stoma. All right, so how does the xylem absorb, transport water and mineral salts? All right, so let's look at this quick drawing here. Okay, so we have this a drawing I made. Okay, this places, this represent the roots. All right, this is the leaf and this is the stem. Okay, so this is section of the leaf. I'll explain the different parts later. And this is a section of root hairs. Okay, root. All right, what happens is that the roots, these roots are inside the soil. Okay, they're inside the soil. So what happens is that the roots absorb water. All right, because in this plant here, sugars are being manufactured. Okay, as sugars are being manufactured, the osmotic pressure within this stem, the osmotic pressure within the stem is higher than that of the soil. So what happens is that osmosis occurs. Osmosis occurs and water are absorbed from this root. Water, H2O. Water are absorbed from this root. Okay, osmosis, the flow of water will be from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration. So because of the presence of the sugars that are manufactured in this plant, water will flow from the soil through the roots into the whole body of this roots around this area. All right, to the whole body of this roots. So as water goes in, the more water that goes in, the more the the sugars, the high concentration in these roots are diluted from cell to cell. Okay, so it gets to a point that dilution becomes very high, and the dilution becomes very high, and most of the sugars, now the osmotic pressure, the higher osmotic pressure in this root begins to drop, so water accumulates here. Okay, so now this is where the xylem comes into play. Okay, as water accumulates within this place, okay, as the root hairs, as the root absorb more water and water accumulates within the root, what happens is the xylem has, like I mentioned, the tracheids and the vessels, they have channels within them. Okay, so from the xylem, as the water accumulates here and gets up to the xylem, the water starts to go up into the xylem, using these channels. Okay, as the water is going up within the xylem, but that water is not enough, all right, to take it up directly to the leaf. So what I'm explaining here is the phenomenon known as root pressure. Okay, because of the much pressure within the root, the plenty of water that has been accumulated within the root, the water has nowhere else to go. So what the water does is it goes up the channels of the xylem. It goes up through this channel. Okay, it begins to go up, but so that at least it decongest the plenty water accumulated in the roots. Okay, it begins to go up within the xylem, and then by the aid of what we call capillary action, okay, it functions just the way you use a dropper to pick multivitamin drops and give to your kid or give to your little sister. So this is how it works. Okay, through these tiny spaces, those cylindrical small spaces, okay, what we call capillary action. So water moves within those spaces, okay, in order to get to the higher parts of the plant, the upper part of the plant. But that is not enough. Okay, so this is where another phenomenon happens known as the transpirational pull. All right, the transpirational pull. How transpirational pull works is that from this place, this is the root here. Yeah, this absorbs water, okay, absorbs water. That's it. Okay, as the water comes here, as I explained, the water builds up here. As the water builds up by capillary action, it starts to go up towards the stem. Okay, but that's not enough to get it to the leaf. So what happens is, let's say this is a section of the leaf, very crude one. Okay, section of the leaf. So as the water comes out into the leaf, there is a space here known as stoma. These are small pores within the leaf, small openings on the leaf, okay, where water can go out. So as water keeps, as the leaf manufactures sucrose and sugars, okay, the osmotic pressure now in the leaf becomes higher because here is already diluted, the root. So the leaf still has sugars that are being manufactured, okay, and the osmotic pressure here begins to build up because of the higher concentration of sugars. So, and then the stoma, more of them, the plural of the stoma is stomata. Okay, so the stoma is open normally during the daytime. So what happens is that water will also leave through the stoma. Okay, that process is known as transpiration. As water is leaving the stoma, all right, and the sugars are accumulating, the osmotic pressure within the leaf will build up greatly. So as more water is leaving the stoma and sugars are accumulating, as the osmotic pressure is building up, this water that have accumulated here from root pressure and has been going up, but it's not enough to get to the leaves. What happens is that there will be an osmotic pool or a transpirational pool. Okay, it will pull it, okay, until it gets to the leaf. It's as simple as that. Okay, what happens? The water would adhere to the walls of this vessel, of these channels. Okay, these xylem channels. Okay, the water adheres. They form tiny droplets, small droplets. Okay, and by the process of by the aid of cohesion and adhesion, these water droplets will not break, even though the pressure is high, but the water droplets will not break. So they will adhere to these channels and continue to go up, continue to go up, continue to go up. They will keep going up, okay, from the root. Okay, more water is leaving the stoma, more water is leaving the leaf through the stoma. Then the the sugars, the leaves are manufacturing sugars, okay, and the osmotic pressure begins to build up. More water is leaving. The water that should have diluted the sugar in the leaves are leaving, and osmotic pressure is building up in the leaf. What happens is that the water that has been collected here will start going up, okay. It's known as transpirational pool. So don't forget, the major ways that the xylem transports water is by the transpirational pool that I just explained, and the root pressure, okay, when water accumulates in the root and it doesn't have anywhere else to go except to go up via capillary action. All right, now your next question will be, how does it transport mineral salts? Transportation of mineral salts requires an active pump, okay. That's what happens. It does not have to do all this, although some minerals can be very minute quantity, can be transported via this root pressure transpirational pool, because some minerals can be within the water, okay, but majorly minerals can be transported via an active pump, okay. The glucose produced in the plant supplies the energy, and an active pump is utilized to transport mineral salts within the plant.